Gailey, good to see you. Moved back down to Essex. What takes you back down there?
For me, it was just home, really. Obviously, spent the last nine years up north,
Mm.
which
Living a
I've
dream.
thoroughly enjoyed. Obviously, a lot of nice people that I've met over the years, but we wanted to move back to a bit closer to family. So that was the move for us, really.
So what's a day in the life of Dwight Gayle looking like nowadays? You playing
Uh,
paddle, feet up? What are we doing?
yeah, bit of paddle, bit of golf. Gonna start to try and look for my next career, but a lot of stuff with the kids and yeah, just taking them to school and to their clubs in the evening.
What is that next career? I mean, you speak to so many former pros, and then obviously I know a lot of lads who have struggled coming out in a game because you think, well, what am I going to do? My head's all over the place. You're bit of out of the routine that you've probably been in for 25 plus years, perhaps. Is it agency, coaching, bit of media stuff? What do you look at?
For now, I think it's going to be probably linked with a bit of agency, a bit of like you say, punditry or bits like that, a bit more uh stuff that I can sort of balance a bit more rather than the
Mm.
coaching, where it might be a bit too full on in terms of timing, so it might clash with the young kids I've got. So yeah, I think that's the best option for me at the moment and my
Yeah.
family.
I did about 6 or 7 years worth of agency stuff. Chaotic world. Were you always with the same agent throughout your career?
I wasn't, to be fair, but I was with them for the last 10 years, and I had a really good relationship with them. So hopefully they will take me on board and it will be a nice, smooth
Give me a
transition.
job.
Yeah.
What are the best things that they can do for you, do you think? I mean, again, when I know from personal experience, the lesser players of kind of League Two, League One think that they should be in the Premier League, they should be doing better than they are. The lads at the very, very top level don't really need a great deal because they know their level. And then now you get into the world of concierge. Can you get me a copy of FIFA? Are you buying me boots every week? Are we going for dinner every week? Do you speak to my family every day? There's so much that goes into it now.
Yeah, I think that's obviously just came with just people talking between each other. I feel like when one agent starts doing it for their player
Mm.
sort of thing, then it gets around the dressing room and it's now a requirement for all those little bits and extras to just keep the client happy, I suppose. But yeah, it's just the realization and giving the players the best information that they need for being successful and like progressing really. And any advice that I've experienced, obviously over my career of different levels, is going to hopefully be key for helping that. Obviously, I've got a good backing behind me of a lot of people of experience in the agency game that can obviously give me pointers in different areas that I perhaps wasn't aware of. So hopefully, just those little things can help.
Were you a needy player, do you think? Or
Uh,
were you quite good?
no, definitely not really. Because my upbringing was obviously not in professional for too long. I didn't come through the academies, and like I said before, it's like a dressing room thing where a lot of the young boys in the academies, uh, the Cat One type players, will have a lot of needs sort of thing that they feel obliged that they need, and they will always be on to the agency's PA or whatever, asking for
Mm.
this, asking for that. But I don't really think I bothered them with anything over the years, really, other than just the contract when it needed to be done, really.
Yeah, can you get me one of them Mercedes buses with the stars in the top and all that sort of stuff? List goes on now, bro. It's
Yeah.
crazy. Walking around with wash bags, so you get discount here, you get me a holiday there, I want a plane over there.
Hmm.
And they're about 17, 18 years old, and you're going, you've not kicked a ball in first team yet.
Yeah, but like it is a bit of a bubble sort of thing, and you can't sort of come away from that. It's
Mm.
all they know. It's the only people that they speak to are all sort of getting those things. So it's hard to sort of try and push them away from that and say that that's not normal because that is their normal.
International break, how do you find it? Did you watch any of England?
I haven't, to be fair.
Don't blame you.
I've been switched off a bit. I seem to sort of stay away from the qualifiers and then get really into it around the tournament time.
Why
Um,
is that? Why is that, I think?
I don't know whether it's me as well as a lot of other England fans. I feel like you almost feel like not it's too easy, but it's quite
What it is?
tedious, quite tedious in terms of just the style of play, or we feel like we should be winning those sort of games, so you almost go into it a bit disappointed. Whereas when it gets to the tournament times, I don't know, there's just a greater buzz.
Mm.
I think everyone's out in their numbers a bit more, and it seems like that 2 or 3 weeks when it's tournament times, just yeah, really good.
Is that hard for Tuchel with the England camp, for example? Because I mean, we've not lost a qualifier for however many years, and it is virtually almost a foregone conclusion. You almost think of rewriting the script and going, well, your seeded teams, your top seeded teams, just go through because we know you're going to make it through anyway. But then that also takes away time that you have in the camp. But then when you discuss how you're going to play during that camp, it's completely different to tournament football. People are wanting you to turn teams over 5-6 nil, as of course they beat Serbia 5. It's almost like it's a no-win situation for them because unless you're winning 5-6-7 and turning teams over and playing unbelievable football, you don't get the credit that you deserve when actually you've just got to get through.
Yeah, I think you're completely right with terms of like you don't get much credit. Like they won 5-0 and everyone just sort of says, yeah, you're expected to, even though
Yeah.
Serbia are a very good side sort of thing. So um, I'm sure if we played them in a tournament time, it'd be a lot better game and a lot tighter for sure. But I do think that the manager will want to have the team together and see what he's got in his dressing room and what people can work with, who and the the types of things he'll want to do when it gets to tournament time. So I do think it is very important for that reason.
How do you look at Harry Kane now? I know a lot of people are thinking, well, if Kane gets injured, then there's Watkins, then where else do we go? Is Harry Kane still as good as it gets in terms of a number nine for you?
Yeah, I mean, his numbers are there to be seen. He still scores nearly every game, so he's someone that we're going to rely on massively when it comes to tournament time. And obviously we have other options, but like I say, he's the main one at the moment, and he's still scoring goals in Germany as well. So he's the perfect fit for us.
You mentioned Germany. Be honest, would you have gone, or would you have stayed and tried to break that record?
Um, I feel like for him, it was the right one to go. I feel like if Haaland wouldn't went to Man City before, then that would have been the better move for him. But again,
Do you think
like
he would have broken it though with Spurs still?
I
And
think
maybe
I
winning that
think
Europa League with them is that obviously you can't
you can't
predict the
guarantee
future.
that. That's the only thing. You're not sure if they would have won that. I'm sure he would have beaten it even if he was at Tottenham, to be honest. But he obviously has high like expectations of what he wants to win in his career, and he has that option of winning a lot more things at Bayern Munich. I think at this point in time.
Does it matter? Like they'll win it without him?
Yeah, but I mean, they've still got the option of winning the Champions League. I thought last year that if they would have went through, then I feel like they would have had a really good chance of like yeah going all the way. To be honest, so they've always got that option of doing well in the Champions League as well, which is a big thing.
Where do you think you would have gone? Do you think you would have stayed and tried to, would that record mean more to you, or do you think a move over to Germany the same?
I don't. Yeah, I don't know really. It's easy to say on the outside, but when you've been at a club for a long period of time, sometimes you just feel that you need a new challenge. And that was the right one for him. So I'm pleased for him.
Physically on the fence. I like it.
Yeah, exactly that.
Obviously, we mentioned the England squad. There's a few new faces, not so many caps for a number of players. The Gays and Eze's of this world. Eze, of course, moving on to Arsenal. Were you still in conversation with people at Palace when those two in particular came in? And what did they say about them?
I wasn't, to be fair. But you can just see from the outside that both of them come across like such great characters. Obviously, the way Gay's carried himself over the last 18 months has been unbelievable. And I'm sure his performances have shown that. I mean, obviously, a lot of players, when they're going through that sort of situation, they their performances start to dip and stuff like that. But you can tell what a good person he is and how well he's been brought up because his performances have backed up.
He'll get his move, won't he? Regardless. Nah, I
I'm
mean, and
sure. Sure.
it's almost like you say about his personality, the way he's carried himself. I see a lot of stuff about people going, he should have forced his way out. He should have done this. He should have done that. Almost the way he has been professional and maintained his performance on a week by week basis, even for England, he was outstanding. Obviously, got his goal for Palace. He's been outstanding. It almost puts him in a higher regard, though, because of how well he's handled the whole thing.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, people will love him for the way he's behaved, as well as a lot of the Palace fans. Now, even if he does leave, a lot of them will send him with high regards and with the best wishes, and he'll always be welcomed back at any point. Whereas sometimes when you leave it a bit sour, uh, the fans soon forget or leave with a bit of a spitefulness about it, and it's obviously not needed, as you can see. And
Mm.
yeah, if he stays or he goes, I'm sure he'll be loved by Palace fans for the future.
Arsenal still your team?
Yeah, I'm a Man United fan to be honest, and my little man supports Arsenal, so at the moment it's a bit of a win-win. When they win, I'm happy because he's buzzing, and then when they lose as well, it's funny to wind him up, as was the case at Liverpool the other week.
Well, are you still telling him that obviously they're going to finish second again? Because what phase Arteta is in now, I mean, for me, you kind of look at their side, they probably will be capable of getting results week in, week out. No, but when you look through their team, nobody's really won a great deal. Your Havertz obviously done a bit with Chelsea. Jesus with City's not really going to be in the frame. I think Saka's won an FA Cup, one or two. Is that what's missing necessarily? That serial winners what get you over the line in a Premier League season?
I think sometimes it's just their confidence. They obviously went into the Liverpool game a bit maybe nervously, or they didn't go out to win the game. But no doubt they'll win a lot of games this season. And it would be nice to see someone like different win it. And like I say, I do think even last year I feel like no one really expected Liverpool to do as well as they did, and people these same questions would have been asked about them, but because they did it so well, people soon forget and say it was expected, and they will only do it again this year. But there's definitely some things that they're missing. Maybe obviously conceding a few goals more than normal at the moment, so I'm sure there'll be gaps for other teams to come in, and it might be Arsenal, and you just don't know.
But it definitely won't be Man United.
You don't know. I have very hopeful at the beginning of the season.
Is that hope just disappeared now?
Slowly it has, yeah, but you never know. You never know.
What's going wrong there?
I'm not sure really. It's one of those things where you change managers, you change players, you change staff members, but still the same things sort of creep back through. And it's almost like the club's in a transition where I don't know, but I feel like it felt a bit similar when I was at Stoke, sort of thing, where people get changed and stuff, but the same results still keep coming back, sort of thing. And it's like as an atmosphere in the whole club, it almost just doesn't go well, and like the fans are almost against the club in general, sort of thing. And it's not like as one; it's almost like you need to get them both on board and maybe doing things off the pitch to get a better relationship. So it feels like you're both pulling in the same direction. Sometimes that ultimately comes from the team on the pitch, but it's like when when fans see the team like fighting for them and grafting and doing all the bad bits sort of thing, it feels like they start pulling in your direction, and then that's when it sort of starts to change. But I don't know exactly what pinpoint it is, but that just sort of feels like a similar environment.
So you don't even look at the manager at the minute.
No, I don't, because it's like I said before, I can't guarantee that if you change a manager, anything's going to change, sort of thing. It's almost like even the players that they bring in, I'm 100% like almost so confident that these players that are coming in that people are now saying are not very good players, if they go to another club where the environment's better, that because they've obviously done well in the first place to get to Man United, if they go somewhere else, I feel like they thrive in another environment and be unbelievable performers. But it's almost like they go in there and then everyone suddenly believes they're a bad player because things are just not going right as a whole club in general.
Which is literally, as you say, like we had for Stoke for many
For a
years.
bit.
After relegation into the Championship, you changed so many managers, so changed so many players, season in, season out, and just nothing seemed to work. One of those players, Benjamin Sesko, as a nine. Have you seen much of him? What's his capabilities like? Do you feel? I mean, I was shocked that he took the 10th penalty against Grimsby, no, as a
Yeah, I
70
know.
million
I
pound
was
man.
saying
You
the same, to be fair, but
put your marker
I,
down.
yeah, but like confidence is a big thing for a striker. Sometimes you want to get on the board with a goal first of all to have a bit of confidence. Um, you can just tell the way that the game was going. The environment was just getting quite toxic, and for him to then skip towards the 10th was a bit surprising. But who knows? It's very early. You've obviously seen a lot of his clips of what he brings to the table, and the fact that both Man United and Newcastle was chasing him obviously shows the quality of the player. But again, it's someone that's gone into a place that's not doing very well, a bit toxic, and people are soon to sort of pick faults in your performance because you're at a big club like Man United.
Well, sticking with nines, and you mentioned Newcastle there. They of course bought Voltemada in. They lost Alexander Isak eventually. As we talked about agency a little bit earlier on, I was a little bit shocked at the way that whole situation was handled because it's almost killed Isak, and now Liverpool have ended up with what, 200 million pounds worth of strikers competing. They will say, well, that was always the plan. You want to have the best of the best. We've now got Ekatike as a backup to Isak. They may play as a two. Ekatike may play left. But surely, if you're Alexander Isak's agent, you get him to do what he did at the end of the window, at the start of the window. You put your stall out from the beginning. He is never going to play for this football club again. This is find out the amount that it's going to be needed to take him away for Liverpool. Liverpool then don't necessarily waste 70, 80 million on Ekatike, but they go out and prioritize 130 million pounds on Alexander Isak. It was a very dangerous game. And now almost you look at Liverpool going, you've got two unbelievable number nines. You've obviously still got Salah, you've got Chiesa as a backup over there, you've got Gakpo on the left. Is it a little bit imbalanced? Like, if you were going to go and spend all that money on Isak, if you've not got to replace Diaz as your starting left winger, and then Gakpo can float between left and up front, how do you think that whole thing was handled?
Ultimately, Newcastle would have wanted to keep Isaac, so their standpoint would have been, yeah, he wants to go, but we still got 3 years. We want to keep him, so they're trying to hold out to try to convince him to stay, really. And I feel Isaac doesn't want to absolutely burn bridges completely at the beginning of the window. Um, so, for instance, I don't think he wants, like I said with Gay, you don't want to leave the club completely spitefully, and that's probably why he left it so late. Um, and then again, Newcastle will obviously hold out for the most money, which is the same as Brentford with Wisa. I feel like you obviously say no, even if you say that, oh, why didn't you go in for 130? And that's what they asked for with Newcastle. But if Liverpool went in with 130 million at the beginning,
They'd want 150.
100%. And that's just the way it works. That's just the way humans work. You're always going to say no to the first one. You're going to say if you're bidding 130 now, of course you're going to offer 140 or 150 at the end, and that's what the game they want to play. In terms of just uh, an extra player sort of thing, striker wise, I do think that they both can play in a multiple positions. I think Isaac lacks the drift for left as well as um, Etiki Kite. I can't even pronounce it to be fair, but I feel like they both have got the legs and ability to play on both sides. So having both options is a really good thing. And I know they lost Darwin Núñez and Diaz, as well as obviously, unfortunately, Jota as well. So they did need to improve on the squad in terms of attacking wise. And I don't think they're going to have too many. It's always a good thing to have that many options to come off the bench if that's going to be the case.
Do they win it again?
They're looking strong contenders. At the moment, obviously, City have having a lot of change with what's going on at the team. And again, like you mentioned about Arsenal, they have their doubts as well as Chelsea as well. So if it was a better man, I'm sure Liverpool will be your favourites. But it's all to play for. It's only 3 games in, is it?
Hmm.
It's not a lot.
A lot to look forward to. Well, we touched upon Newcastle as well. Voltemada was their replacement in for Alexander Isak. There was talk of so many names when that saga was coming to an end. I would love to see you stand next to Voltemada. That would be the geezer's massive. Again, have you seen much of him? Can he fill? I mean, the massive boots to fill, and you don't want to put pressure on a player who I think scored 12 goals in 28 Bundesliga games last season. He's young. But you know full well those Newcastle fans, you lead the line for them, they get behind you.
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously had a quick sort of transition in terms of his game time, and he's really progressed a lot recently. But like you say, they're fully supportive the Newcastle fans, and I know that him going in with Eddie will work on a lot of things, and he'll give him the right aspects of his games to get the Newcastle fans behind him, and obviously it'd be a big vocal point for them. And set plays, you'll obviously be a big threat being Satul.
Him, Dan Burn, a nightmare. You went there under Rafa, didn't you? You became the first Newcastle player since Alan Shearer to score 20 league goals in a season. What is that feeling like? Because it's been compared to, your Liverpool, your Anfield is outstanding place to play, but St James's Park is another level.
Yeah, obviously speaking to a lot of boys over my career, as well as obviously experiencing it myself, but that was, I think, a lot of people's top three, if not like number one. Getting to go play at St James's Park for me was amazing. Bringing the family along and getting to experience like some of the atmospheres that we went to was unbelievable. I've been fortunate enough to obviously get back the last 2 seasons, and I managed to go to both Liverpool games. And experiencing both of those were obviously amazing. This one was even better because to see the added toxic environment of the Isak situation was crazy.
Mm.
Um, I've never actually managed to experience someone getting cheered off after being sent off like Gordon did, which just shows what it meant to them to just get stuck in really. And they was literally was like the so-called 12th man when it came to because it didn't feel like it was 11v10 after Gordon got sent off.
What was Rafa like with you?
Yeah, it was really good. He absolutely loved football. Um, would talk non-stop about it, and he really enjoyed my sort of game um, style. Was he really wanted the number 9 to just almost stay away from the ball and always be looking to run it behind to stretch the defense and almost make the gap just behind for the number 10. So we worked really well together, and yeah, I really enjoyed my time with him.
Because you're quite analytical as well. You a bit of a student of the game. I remember when we spoke when you first arrived at Stoke, and your role was almost changing ever so slightly to bring players more into play, and you kind of enjoyed that way of your thought process changing about how your role and how football could be played. Did you ever have any bad run-ins with him, or were there any moments when he lost it with somebody else? Because again, I remember looking through that Newcastle side. You had the likes of Johan Gouffran, Henry Savit, Florian Thauvin.
To be honest, Goof ended up being a really, really, really pivotal like piece for us in the championship season. I think um, Rafa had a very strong belief in the way he wanted to play for us to be effective, and I feel like some of the others, I think it's Tovan, he didn't feature too much. He was there only for the preseason that I was there, and I feel like he maybe had his ideas about Raf had his ideas about how he would perform, and he probably didn't see that working too well with us. But Goof really changed his game in terms of he worked so hard for the team, um, and he was all about the team sort of thing. So he was a really good piece. The one I would sort of suggest was Mitrovic. Obviously, someone who had such a good career and someone so gifted. However, I feel like um, what I mentioned before about running in behind, he didn't like the fact that Mitro sometimes got a bit bored. See, sometimes if we was keeping the ball at the back for a long period of time, or the game wasn't going too well for us, and Mitro hadn't touched the ball too much, he'd sometimes drift into like deeper roles and want to get a touch of the ball. Um, not yeah, whereas I was quite sort of happy
You're
to do
quite
that
happy to
sort of thing
stretch it and
and goal hang. But yeah, that was the only one sort of thing, and I feel like that's why he probably didn't perhaps play too much when he was with us, even though he was obviously so gifted. And yeah, you can see what he done afterwards. He'd always talk about like Real Madrid training and stuff because I love Ronaldo so much. I'd always like be winding him up, saying how good he was and stuff. But like just in general, not really. Just love talking about football, and he was always, like you say, a student of the game, and the way he saw things was very different. But it was always a pleasure to listen to someone else.
you played with Hosselu briefly as well, didn't you?
Yeah, so Hosler was with us for maybe 2 years. I think he came in at the start of the Premier League.
He had a obviously we had him at Stoke. Obviously Bojan and Money loved him, and then obviously he's gone on and done what he did with Real Madrid, scoring in the Champions League, and you're just thinking, where was that at Bet365? Was
Yeah,
he
but
was he
that's
good at it?
another thing that adds to what I said before about sometimes just the environment's not right, and players obviously need to be loved, to be feel like they're wanted sort of thing, and if that's the case, they're performing a lot better. So obviously, it's
Could
gone.
you see that with him at Newcastle though? Can you?
He was very technically gifted. Like he had a good understanding of the game, and then again, sometimes when fans sort of don't appease to someone and they sort of start getting on their back, you almost sort of fixate and say everything that they're doing is wrong. Whereas when a player sort of loved, you forget about all those little bits where they give the ball away. It's not a groan or a thing. It's unlucky. You can do it better next time, sort of thing. And these things do like mentally affect people when they're playing their game. And there was a few players like that we had at Newcastle who went on to be like world beaters that perhaps at the time didn't be too effective at the team. There was a few of them.
I tell you, I used to love watching Yohan Cabaye,
Hmm.
proper baller middle midfield, and you played with quite a few street ballers as well, didn't you? Your Yannicks, Wilf obviously come to mind. Was there anyone else out of the blue that would be a bit of a surprise for someone, but really shocked you at how gifted they were, whether technically, whether in training, somebody like that who really takes your breath away?
Um,
Did you play with Saint Maximin briefly?
yeah. So he was obviously a very gifted player. But then where I was saying about Eddie likes to have a sort of um, structured team. He would be your maverick. Sometimes
Mhm.
that could win you the game. So that was like perfect for maybe a team that sort of sits back, sort of thing. Um, but then just what you come back to what you said before, just not maybe someone who surprised me for like being takes your breath away sort of thing, but someone I played with, James MacArthur at Palace was just someone that you'd always want playing for you sort of thing. Um, go under the radar for perhaps no one really rating him outside of the team, but unbelievable to play with and never lost the ball. And then chipped in with his goals as well. So he was probably one of the best underrated players I played with.
We'll give him a special mention. Do the Liverpool fans still really, really, really like you?
Yeah, no, it's got a bit easier because they've won a few things recently, so
True.
they're
True as well.
not as bitter the fact that they've got to win the Premier League. But then yeah, still locally, if I come across Liverpool fans, they say, oh, recently, I think yesterday, one said, oh, you ruined my childhood. I think he was about 19, 20 now. So he must have been around 9 or 10. And he was just like, yeah, I was really gutted. And I
Crying
had
at the
to,
TV.
yeah, he had to go into school the next day and he said he was fuming. But
Does
it
that
wasn't
make you
uncommon.
happy deep down?
No, but it's obviously nice to still be recognised for doing something that I'd love to do and enjoyed.
You played under some proper British managers, didn't you? Obviously, you mentioned Eddie, the likes of Steve Bruce, Pardew, TP. You had for brief period of time. Ian
Yeah.
Holloway you had for a brief period of time. Neil Warnock you had. I remember a few stories about Neil Warnock when he went into Huddersfield and just completely changed the culture into. I remember Huddersfield had a they have a pink away kit and they played at Millwall away and he just went in and told said, "What the f do you look like? And you're here at Millwall and you're playing in pink. All the best." And they went out and win. They went out and won. So it's those little kind of nuances that change the way you think and relieves a bit of pressure. Who out of that group of managers would you say was the best with you?
I wouldn't say the best with me, but for me, for like a team side, I thought Tony Pulis um, was one of the best at that, and obviously Eddie, like I mentioned before, he's a very different to one of those. He was more of a he obviously understood the game so well, but what he managed to do with the team spirit was obviously amazing. We was having such a bad season, as well as when I got to TP as well. Both of those instances was towards the bottom of the league. So I feel like someone who's able to do that is obviously a great manager. I feel like both Palace and Newcastle were in the relegation spaces, probably at the bottom, and both of them were able to change that. I think we ended up being mid-table for both teams at the end of the season, and they both just put us in really like a good place for the following season as well. Obviously, Tony Pulis was only with us for 6 months, but he brought the boys together. He managed to just bring, yeah, a nice little togetherness, even though he wasn't. We didn't like. I don't know. It was weird. We just managed. Like we obviously had a good team unit already, but it just added to that really. So both of those two really were the ones that I thought were the best at man management and like bringing the team together.
You had a hell of a career, Dwight. I know in the champion you've got one of the best records in history. When you look at your time in that division specifically, not to take away what you did in the Premier League, even West Brom, you were relentless. How do you consider yourself when you look at championship forwards? You mentioned Mitro, you've got Timu Puki, you've got Billy Sharp, you're Dave Nugent to this world. Where do you feel you sit in kind of championship number nine history?
Um,
You've got to be up there.
no, it's not. It's just that I just feel like we're all a similar type of player in terms of wanting to goal scoring, but ultimately you get the opportunities when the team's doing well, sort of thing. So I only scored goals when I was playing for the teams that were doing well, and like it just makes it a lot easier. I'm sure there's a lot of players that you haven't mentioned that probably had the capabilities of doing that if they was in the same surroundings that I was, and I was very fortunate that I was given those opportunities to get that yeah to get the goals really.
You're such a nice geezer, man. Who would be that ultimate championship number nine for you?
I think we just have to go with Mitro to be fair. Obviously he scored 40 odd goals. It was literally relentless. Every week he'd score, and it was an absolute cheat code. That Fulham team literally smashed the season. He obviously continued to do that when he went into the Prem as well. And yeah, I'd have to go him. If you're especially as he can do it, the whole role as well, tap ins, but then be an absolute hold up player as well. So whereas the others are a bit more goal scorers, he could do everything. So that'd be my option.